You hear me now, Jason? Cool. All right. All right, there we go. Hey, everybody. Okay, now we'll turn on the sound. I was running a little bit behind today, so now you can unmute yourself as you like. And yeah, I got a couple questions in the chat about where we got the music, where we have the opening playlist. Most of that music came from upbeat.com, which is a copyright free or a royalty free music streaming service or music service for content creators. That specific track that I opened with, though, came from a guy named Ben. He's got a website called Ben Sounds. He's got a bunch of just really cool tracks, and they're once again they're free with attribution. So that's why you'll see on all our YouTube videos we credit Ben Sounds for a couple of the tracks that we've got on here as well. So yep.
I'm glad you finally said that, because I thought Ben Sounds is an imaginary name you just made up for random sounds that you use. Did not realize that was a real person. Clever stage name, last name being Sound if you're doing music.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think we're gonna have a pretty good session today. We are sold out. So all of our seats are full, which is pretty exciting. And so we should see a lot of new faces in here today. And let's see here. We don't have any yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing a few more folks join here. And so for those of you who are, let's see, I think almost everybody has been here before. We'll see a few more of you joining here in a minute. If you're out there on YouTube, welcome. Glad to have you watching along with us. I got a few people out there. Feel free to sound off in the chat. Let us know you're there. Let us know your name, and we'll try to give you a shout out as well. And here in the Zoom room, what we're going to be doing in a few minutes as we get a couple more people to join is we are going to have, we're going to do a little round of open networking to begin with. And that's one of the big things that we do here at Product Coffee is just introduce ourselves to each other as though we're standing around in person with a cup of coffee or tea or, I don't know, Irish whiskey, whatever you're going to drink for the start of the day. And talk to each other, introduce ourselves, talk about who we're with, what we're focused on right now. And I always like to ask you a question: what has your attention? And that could be something, a big win that you want to celebrate. Maybe you just had a launch, or you solved a problem you've been working on. Or maybe you've got a challenge that you're working through right now and you'd love to throw out to some other experienced product professionals to talk about and see how we can help you. Sometimes we'll jump right in during the call right here and spend a few minutes on a topic that you need help on. Other times we'll connect you to some resources or do some offline connections. But don't be afraid to throw out your challenges or your questions or your celebrations as you're kind of doing these introductions. That's how we get to know each other, and that's how we build a better community. So I'm going to start right now. We've got a few people in here, and I want to just start off by inviting a couple people to jump up and introduce yourself. I will tell you the way we do this. If your camera is on, I'll invite you to introduce yourself. And I try to get to the people that I haven't heard from in a long time first. And if your camera is off, then I won't force you to come up and say hi. But I'm going to start off with, let's go to Kristen Coyle. Hi, Kristen. Welcome back.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I am a mechanical engineer that was a developer on some mechanical engineering software, and probably early last year, I became the product manager for that and our tank software. So it's been awesome. I love product. That's where I belong. Wish I'd gotten here sooner, but glad to be here. And I got to product coffee as soon as I could, because it's been a lot of fun hanging out with everybody. I guess what I'm focusing on right now, we did this cool thing. So the way we're structured is we have a strategy team that kind of sits at the top layer, and some of that gets funneled down to the product owner level. There are good things and bad things about that, because they're not talking to my customers the way I am, but they are distilling the company-wide level things for us. And one of the things we're doing right now is they handed down some goals that we're supposed to categorize all of our epics and features for. And one of the things is going to do to benefit us is we have one called sustenance. So it's like all your maintenance and infrastructure projects. And if I can quantify how much effort my team has to put into for these things that don't actually, I mean, I can find a way to sell them, right? Because you can say, speed, stability, longevity. But at the end of the day, it's not a new feature. So this is going to help me give a business case to get more developers. So in that regard, it is very helpful. And that's been something, even as an acquisition company that, corporate, but that's one positive that I'm seeing. So it's good.
That's cool. Yeah, I hear you. I always value when there is a really clear communication of that kind of top-down priorities and values. That was the genesis years ago I've shared a lot of times here at Product Coffee and at Product Camp and at other events. I have shared the 60-second business case. And that was actually the genesis of the 60-second business case, was this notion of we have these business value criteria that we want to align our product development processes around, our product development priorities around, and we need to figure out a way to quantify that. And so the point that you just raised right there is, I've got these goals and priorities, but I need these goals that have been handed down, but how do I quantify and order them so that I can build the right business case to get the resources I need to do the most important things? And how do I choose which of those goals to act on at any given time as well? So, but it does, having that clear direction is really powerful and helpful to activate everyone.
And another thing I took off of that and kind of spun it into my own organizational system. We're using AHA, and they have this notes section. I love AHA every day. And I'm using hashtags in my notes so that when the sales guys come to me and say, quick, what are we doing for food and beverage? I have a hashtag and I can go, okay, here's a list of all the things that are already in the software, and here's what's to come. Don't tell them that part, but understand that these things are possible and we're working on it. So, and then that way I can help them frame their demos. I can help marketing, do some like food and beverage blogs, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it by industry, I'm doing it by persona, and I'm doing it by one more. Oh, our company strategy level. I think we have viability, safety, a couple other ones that are related to engineering stuff. So compliance, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So
and you're exposing that in such a way that it is easily searchable and explorable by people outside of product management, so they can actually see the work that you're doing, how it applies to the things that they care about.
Yeah, and so I'm starting the note itself. So I have a clickable list, but the note also starts with, these are the differentiators in the market related to our software. For instance, food and beverage, turns out they have a lot of nozzles. I didn't know that. So how does that affect certain features in our products? So now we're going to have a huge nozzle list available on the interface, so that they don't have to go click and try to find it. So things like that. But that way, starting with the differentiators of the industry for my product, and then right under that, these are the big top 5 things that differentiate our software for those differentiators.
Super cool. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. That's great stuff. Let's see here. Let's go now to, let's say hi to, let's say Philip Jacob. Hey, Philip, how are you? You might have to come off of mute there.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Yes, we got you.
Yeah, this is my third product coffee. Really enjoying it, so I'm coming back for more coffee.
Excellent.
Yes. I'm working in a payroll industry, UKG, and mostly focused on business intelligence. So I work with Google's Looker product and Cognos. So those are my 2 products. I also use AHA, getting familiarized with it. It's a pretty cool tool. We use AHA Idea Board to collect customer feedback and get their votes. So that's very nice, and it links very nicely with Jira, so which our engineers and development side use. So
I like how you can keep the work that they're doing in sync with what's on the roadmap.
Yes.
Very good. So let's see here. Who else have we not heard from in a little while? Thank you, Philip. Welcome back. What has your attention these days?
We are transitioning from a Kanban process to Scrum process. So there's a lot of PI planning activities going on for a 5-week sprint. So earlier we were on a 2-month development cycle. Now we are on a 2-week sprint cycle. So getting all my backlog user stories ready.
Gotcha. That's an interesting transition. I often hear people going from Scrum to Kanban. I don't hear as many people going from Kanban back to Scrum. I'm not surprised to hear it. I'm surprised I don't hear about it more often, because there's just so much more granular units of delivery and value creation, as opposed to what feels to me in Kanban like a much less communicable process. You're really only able to look at what you've got in flight right now, at the work that you've got, and you see what's kind of next, but you don't have any real visibility, or I don't feel like you have any real visibility into any kind of boundaries on work that's being done, to understand the size of the work that's being done in general.
I've used Scrum, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep. Very good. Well, welcome back. We're glad to have you. And let's see here. Let's go to Mr. Anderson. Tom Anderson, how are you, Tom?
I'm good. This is actually my first product coffee, so introduce
Excellent.
myself
Well,
to
welcome.
everybody. I'm
Yeah.
a product owner, product manager. Been around in software in various roles since 2006. Started as a trainer, then moved to implementation and consulting. I'm in product, and the main thing that I'm paying attention to these days is finding a job because I got laid off at the beginning of February. So,
Ah,
I'm very interested in today's topic. How AI fits into things. I've been following Product Coffee on LinkedIn for a little while, and this is the first time I've had a chance to actually join. So here I am.
well, glad we have you here. So thank you so much for coming. Definitely, we'll look forward to getting to know you a little bit better, hearing about the types of things that you're looking for. And that's a lot of what we end up with here at Product Coffee. So since I've got you on the camera right now, why don't you just give me a quick 15, 20 seconds on the types of opportunities that you're most interested in right now.
Really, I've been involved in a lot of different verticals, ranging from venture capital law firms to utilities, automotive. I mean, I've done product work in a lot of different stuff as a consultant and as an in-house product manager. So I'm pretty much open to anything, and I can leverage all of that to bring unique perspectives to what's going on. So.
Very good. What are you most interested in accomplishing in your next role?
Taking a product to the next level.
Okay.
Trying to leverage the things that I've done in the past to help somebody move their product beyond where it is now to where it could be.
So you want to work with an existing product and work on leveling it up, moving it forward in the marketplace, helping expand its impact.
Yeah, that's the most appealing. But at the same time, I've also worked in custom software where we start from square one and establish what the customer really needs, not just what they say they need, and building something that helps them get the job done.
Yep, absolutely. I definitely hear you on that. One of the things that I always try to encourage people to do, and this kind of goes for everybody on the call, when you're in that search mode, the more laser focused you can get on what you want to achieve, what you want to learn, what you want to accomplish, and the types of things that you want to work on, the better it helps you to identify opportunities. And that doesn't mean you from looking at opportunities or opportunities that are outside of your focus.
Sure.
But in that kind of conversational space, the more focused you can be, the more it will trigger people to connect you to real opportunities. So I always try to draw that out. Very good.
Stuff.
So glad you could join us. Glad to have you here. Look forward to getting to know you and hearing more from you as well. Let's see here. Who else have we got here that we have not heard from in a little while? Let's see. Hey, Dan Warren from Method. How are you, Dan? Why don't you say hi?
Hey, how you doing, man? Good
Doing
to
great.
see you again. I guess I'll be talking
Yeah.
to you later this week too. So,
Probably.
yeah,
Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and let us know what has your attention?
sure. Dan Warren, or some people call me Daniel Warren because I work at Method and we have way too many Daniels. So I have to change my name depending on the project that I'm on. Been doing some form of product ownership management strategy for the better part of 15 years. Started with a startup company and stayed with them for the better part of 20 years, transitioning from sales into sales management and training and customer support and all things, I guess, when you start with a startup. And then we, over time, got acquired twice through private equity and then a Fortune 500 company. So I've gotten to see both ends of the product management spectrum. Definitely liked the startup better than the Fortune 500, but interesting things were learned along the process. The thing that's got my attention now that I honestly don't have a whole lot of knowledge about, other than just like everyone else on this call, having a brain for logistics and logic, is AI, specifically around the chat AI. So I've got it on my board to do a test of some of the stuff I've been reading about how to create supplemental income from utilizing some of these chat bots at zero cost. So I'm going to do a project of starting a t-shirt company just for the fun of it, where you create the Pinterest and then you create a chat GPT like bot that can go ahead and actually market your page that you created. But you connect to a t-shirt company and you connect to Canva, and you get the design, you put it on that, connect a link, you do affiliated marketing, and you have zero costs and zero shipping. So they say. I've never seen anything be free, but I'm going to do it just for the learning curve to see what happens, just for the fun of it. So I'll update you, Jason, on what the outcome of that is. So
very cool. That'll be a lot of fun to watch along with.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, welcome back. Glad to see you here again. Let's see, who else do we have here? Let's say hi to Austin Daniels. Hi, Austin. Welcome to Product Coffee.
Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I'm also work at Method as well. Let's see. What are the two questions? Right.
Just tell us who you are and what has your attention right now.
Oh yeah, what has my attention? So I worked at a startup before coming to Method, and so I was in the space of digital therapeutics. So that's basically using software as a means to implementing care plans. And, a part of that also is how AI is going to be affecting healthcare as well, and how AI can also be implemented into those digital therapeutics if possible.
Very good. Very cool. All right. And hey, Dave Matthias, I think you were here last week when I wasn't here. Why don't you jump up here and say hi?
Hey there, everyone. Good to you. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row after, I think maybe the first time this year for both. Well, first time was last week, and then the second time. So going streaks. So I'm in product at a startup out of Austin called Shipwell. We're a software startup in the logistics space, and so what's on my mind though isn't really as much work related. There's always things with work related stuff, but I'm in Colombia right now. So for me, a lot of things, I'm in Medellin, Colombia. So, and this whole year I've sort of been traveling different places. So right now Medellin's on my mind for or trying to be as much as my mind, pulling myself away from my computer.
Super nice. I thought you were saying Columbia, South Carolina.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's South America.
Maybe you could help market Pablo's excess hippos.
Excess hippos, huh? Like it.
All right. Well, welcome back, my friend. It's really good to see you. I hope you enjoy your time in Colombia. Colombia.
Well, everywhere really, so Canada's next after this, and then off to Europe. So yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow. You are really all over the place. So that's fantastic. Let's see here. Who else do we have here that we haven't heard from in a while? Let me just drop down here. And once again, for those of you who are just joining us, what we do here for the first 30 minutes or so of Product Coffee is we just introduce ourselves. We try to get as many as we can. Tell us who you are, who you're with, and what has your attention right now. Whether it's a victory you're celebrating or a challenge you're trying to solve, we'll help you out if we can. And, sometimes that means we'll follow up with you later. But we got a lot of people here who are always glad to help. So let's see here. And I will, if your camera is on, I'll look to try to call on you. So let's say hi to Michael Solpavar, if I got that right.
Hey, it's Misha.
Misha.
How's it going, man?
That's what it says on your Zoom client.
I know. I gotta fix that.
Yeah. Hey, Misha.
Everybody. Nice to meet you all. So, I'm over at Cherry. We're a real estate data startup, and what we do is we have a data fabric that connects the sort of universe of real estate data and makes it accessible for asset management firms, large institutions, for modeling and to inform decision making. So I've been knee deep in a GPT world, and that's been what's occupying my mind. I remember in business school, we had this big framework that said you can either be a job shop or you can be a custom consultancy, but you can never have mass customization. And so I'm trying to challenge that assumption. And I think there's something there. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Very cool. Glad to have you here, and looking forward to hearing your contributions as well. See here, David Yiend, why don't you come in here and say hello to everybody?
Hey, Jason.
Hey,
Yeah,
how
my
are
last
you?
name's pronounced Yend. I know it's spelled weird, but my mnemonic is sounds like friend. So I hope
Love
that
it.
is easy to remember. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia here. I'm a director of innovation at a company called 352, and we work with clients to do design thinking, problem definition, solution architecture, build, and launch. Yeah, hi. And I've been to a couple of these product coffees. I think they're so awesome. I just love connecting with the new people. And yeah, so of course I was tempted to come in by the hot topic of AI. It's interesting to me too. There's going to be a local Atlanta event in June around product management with machine learning. So I know it's
Mm-hmm.
not exactly the same, but like these fields are really hot right now. I think internally, a lot of our colleagues are talking about all the fun ways you can use AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I made a cartoon character based on your name, or like, I don't know, all kinds of crazy things. I've dabbled in it, but I'm really curious to see how it might relate to our work and just making our kind of research, facilitation, strategic kind of
Mm-hmm.
thinking faster. I think the human bot combination has potential to just accelerate as long as it doesn't overcome us and turn us make us all extinct. So otherwise, I'm here for it. So thanks for having me, Jason.
You bet. So glad to meet you, and I will remember that name for sure. So welcome to Product Coffee. Glad to have you, and looking forward to hearing your perspectives today as well. So let's see here. We're at 11:54. We got a couple more minutes. Let's jump over. Let's do a couple more here. Let's see. You know what? I want to say hi to Divya, who is also already in the notes document, dropping some content in there. So if you want to open up productcoffee.com/notes, you'll be able to see the cooperative notes that we'll take along the way here today. But Divya, why don't you jump on the screen and say hello?
Hi, Jason. Thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Divya Ganju. I am originally from India, and I moved to the States for the second time last year. I was so far, taking a little break to be with my toddler, and then I was looking for new opportunities. And Jason really helped me there quite a bit. So this is the right group if you want references, etc. And right now, what's on top of my mind is that I have finally landed a very good role, and I am good. So right now, on top of my mind is, what am I going to be doing in the new role, in the new company, and looking forward to that. The other thing which is on top of my mind is all this AI stuff which is going on. Every day, I think I read. I try at least one AI tool. If you go to my LinkedIn page, the profile pic I have looks nothing like me, like how I'm looking right here, but it's actually it's generated using an AI tool. So it's pretty exciting, all the stuff which is going on, and looking forward to this session today.
Very good. Well, welcome back. That's really cool. Thanks. And thanks for dropping that list in there already as well. And I see we've got a lot of comments going on in there. And I saw Sandeep had his hand up a moment ago. Sandeep, why don't you jump in here?
Yeah.
Or did we lose you? Oh, there you are. Great.
Yeah. I wanted to just jump ahead of the queue because, I need to drop in 4 minutes. This is my first meeting. I have another meeting coming up at 12. So sorry about that.
No worries.
I work for Fiserv. And manage a bunch of banking products, right? The $80 million portfolio as of now, tasked with a growth rate of more than 20-30% to take it to 400 million in the next 3 or 4 years, right? So that is my banking and payments world. Historically, I have been a developer. I've managed accounts and clients, and then moved to program project management. And then eventually in 2008, I started business consulting on the side. I started doing product management, right? Because my main task at that point was go into a client's premises, look at consulting opportunities, and convert it to products, right? So that is how I moved into product management. And right now, I mean, the last 2 years, I mean, I've been with Pfizer for a little over 3 years, but in that time frame, I think I probably have done a lot. Like I've launched 2 products, commercialized them, and now I'm on to roll out a multi-sided business model, a platform, for data and analytics that would involve fintechs, banks, non-banking financial services, and all those segments. Now, having said that, what's on my mind today is, we are doing a lot of AI already, right, in bits and pieces in terms of, how we manage fraud, risks, and where we can really monetize AI in our products, right? So that's one. It's very hard to do that in a B2B business, but that is something that I'm experimenting with, right? The next thing I wanted to do is, I'm thinking about this, and I'm happy to collaborate with anybody who is interested in that, to think about fintech as an AI model, right, instead of company. So that is something that I am exploring, conceptualizing in my head. If anybody's interested, reach out to me, and you will have my LinkedIn. I don't know what name you see on the Zoom profile, because Zoom typically doesn't show my name for some reasons. I don't know what that is. Okay, so Sandeep D. Okay, so Sandeep Digambar is my name, and you'll see that you can find me on LinkedIn. I will probably put the LinkedIn profile over here. So that's what I do, from business strategy, product strategy, right up to execution, everything in between. So glad
Very
to
good.
be here on the coffee, and looking forward to interact with all of you more frequently.
Excellent. Well, so glad you could join us for the opening round here, and we'll look forward to having you back here again in the future. Look forward to getting to know you better. Thanks for coming today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah.
You bet. My absolute pleasure. And we didn't get to everybody here. We got quite a few folks dropping in here today, and I think we'll see even more over the next few minutes joining, but we're getting about to the top of the hour. So let's go ahead and get started for the day. Let's see here. One of the things that I'd like to do, first of all, is I'd like to introduce myself for those who I haven't met. My name's Jason Brett, and we host Product Coffee here almost every week of the year on Wednesday mornings. We have it at 11:30 a couple times a month, and 7:30 a.m. Eastern a couple of times a month, so that whether you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, you can join us at some point and have either a cup of coffee or an early lunch and be part of this discussion. And we're really glad all of you could be here. This is a community of product managers that exists for the purpose of helping each other have more impact in our careers, in our companies, and in our markets. We're about helping each other grow and become better product managers. We're glad you could be a part of it. So we've got a few things that I want to get into before we get into our actual program today. And one of the first things I'd like to do is I'd like to take a quick moment to give a shout out to our sponsors. We've got quite a few sponsors who are making this program possible. And if you would please just take a moment and check them out. A bunch of links in the chat. If you quick moment and check these out throughout the day today. Check out all of our sponsors. Get to know them a little bit. Reach out to them. Connect with them. And thank them for supporting Product Coffee. Method is a digital agency. You heard a couple of folks from Method here. I also work for Method full-time, and we do software development, product strategy, and product design for our clients. We also have Sophion that has been in the innovation space for close to 20 years now. They recently launched acclaimedproducts.io, which is a suite of tools for product managers to track your metrics, track your strategy, and really start tying your development and your product results into business results. So strongly recommend checking them out and getting to know them a little bit. I heard quite a few people today are on the hunt for a new product management role. And Genuine Parts is one of our sponsors, and they're a 100-plus-year-old company that is in the automotive part space, but they're going through a massive digital transformation right now and a massive modernization of their product processes. And they're looking for literally dozens of product management professionals ranging from mid-career to senior career who can come in and help evangelize modern product practices inside the organization. I posted a link there to a bunch of opportunities that they've got open, and they're adding new opportunities every single week as well. The Product Management University is an online resource for learning about how to be a better product manager, gaining a product management certification, powered by our friend John Mansour, who has been a supporter of the product management and product community around Atlanta and the Southeast, especially for the last 20 years or so. And he has just recently launched an online learning school that really focuses in on portfolio-based B2B product management, really helping you get the most value out of your portfolio. And finally, Feature Upvote, where we have an ideas portal. And I would encourage everybody to go to productcoffee.com/ideas, log into our portal, and you can check out Feature Upvote, which is some software that allows you to collect voice of the customer feedback from your own customers. It's really fast and easy to implement. You can make suggestions about the types of topics you'd like to hear about here at Product Coffee, vote on other people's suggestions, or add some comments in and kind of create some discussion around the types of topics that you'd like us to cover here for free on one of these weeks coming forward. Would love to hear your thoughts there, and give some thanks to Feature Upvote for supporting us as well. I want to also give a quick shout out. We've got a book club. Product Coffee has a book club, and we meet almost every week with our book club as a separate kind of discussion. We're currently reading Product Roadmaps Relaunched. And you can go to coffee.com/club, sign up for that, and you'll get the invitations on your calendar every week to join that meeting. We're about halfway through the book right now. Doesn't matter. Grab a copy of the book, join in on the discussion. You'll learn a lot. We've even, for our premium members, we've got recordings of the past sessions. And there's also a Miro board that everybody who joins that book club will get access to. And you can kind of see the notes and discussion topics. And we've gone into, over the last several weeks, we've done some pretty cool stuff. Allison Herbert is on here as well. Allison, why don't you talk about what you did in book club last week that was such a hit?
Yeah, so Roadmaps Relaunched, as everybody might guess by the title, roadmaps are what we're talking about. It's really interesting to see a collection of folks in various stages and places in their product careers come together and share their product experience with roadmaps. Many of you probably have some very hot opinions on that. And last week, we took the objective, theme, and sub-theme construct that's in the book and talked through how we would start using that to shape our roadmap. So we all know our business leaders are telling us to go increase revenue or lower costs or any number of objectives. And then how does that align to the work that you're being tasked to do within your respective teams? And so it was a really great conversation. A word diet is what I like to call that exercise, because we start with all the things and all the words and all the, nuanced ways to say things. And then we have to really get at the root of, well, what are you doing? And it was great to really have that conversation with the group. So I'd encourage you, if you're interested, to check us out.
I think one of the neat things that that the team does with the book club is we don't just read and talk about the book. We get in deep and start working through practical applications of the things that we're reading about each week. Prior to this book, we read Matt Wallert's Start at the End book on applying behavioral science to your work, and got really deep into building out interventions throughout the course of the book club. This is one of the most unique book clubs that you'll be a part of, and it's completely free. We'd love to have you join us. So, and thanks for, so we've got Allison, Manesh, and Brandy all kind of help lead that group from week to week. And then we have a lot of volunteers step in to facilitate from week to week as well. Love to have you there. Next week, we're going to have a town hall discussion. We're going to get back to roadmaps for our larger theme for the month. And we're going to be talking about making sure that your roadmap is actually realistic, and having the right conversations internally with both your stakeholders and your contributors to ensure that the roadmap that you're sharing with your customers and with your internal stakeholders has the right level of realism applied to it, and that you're creating a real discipline about making sure that your roadmap's not just a daydream, it's a very real plan to get to your destination. And that'll be here next Wednesday at 7 a.m. Eastern Town Hall. And we'll have some talk about best practices as a group and what's worked and what hasn't worked. Some of the challenges that we need to solve together as well. So I want to introduce you to a couple of resources as well. If you go over to productcoffee.com/now, you will find the landing page for today's session, and we'll add some additional links to that. So you might want to bookmark that page so you can come back to it if you're excited about today's session. And you'll be able to find some additional resources as we get some really high value links. They'll kind of become kind of part of the archive of this session. And you'll eventually be able to find an archive copy of this show on that page. That'll come a little bit later. But take a look at that. And one of the most important links on that page is actually the notes document. You can see it's already starting to fill up. Each week, we create a Google Doc for these sessions so that we can jump in together, take notes, and collaborate as a group. So instead of just taking your notes for yourself, jump into productcoffee.com/notes. Save that Google Doc off into your own Google Docs. Just hit the little star on it, and then you'll have it in your own files, and you can come back to it. It'll be there forever for you to go back and refer to. So if we contribute on those notes together, we end up with a much better resource than if we're just taking our own private notes. And some of us aren't as good at taking notes. I'm one of those people, so it's really helpful to see what other people are capturing and maybe just add a little annotation or a comment or something that kind of helps deepen my own understanding. So would really love to have everybody join us at productcoffee.com/notes and be a part of the discussion today in that way as well. So let's get started with today's program. Today we are talking about AI-powered product managers, and one of the things that is going on in the world today is, we've all been hearing about ChatGPT ad nauseum, and Bing's new AI, open AI powered search service, and we've heard about Google Bard, and there are a ton of other tools that have been around for a little while that are gaining traction. OpenAI opened their plugin store, or is starting to roll it out on a limited basis. I have not gotten off the waiting list on that. I'm curious, by show of hands here in the chat or in the Zoom, if you'll hit the reactions panel, if you've already got access to OpenAI's plugins. I would be really curious to see some hands raised there. See, Andrew's got his thumbs up there. That's really cool. Misha's, of course, Misha does. Cool. Definitely, I'm still on the waiting list.
We've all gotten
What's
it.
that?
We've all gotten it. We told them
they're
not
just holding
to
back
give
me.
it to you. Yeah.
That's cool. That's perfectly fair. That's cool. So what we want to do today is I'm just going to kind of set up the discussion, and then we're going to work into some little breakouts and talk about some tools and techniques and some questions that we have and just start working through the notion of not how to use AI in your products, but more specifically, how this emergence of new AI tools and this rapid expansion of AI tools is going to impact our own careers as a whole. So let me start. I've got a few things I'd like to share with you here as we're starting up the discussion. So I'm going to share my screen for just a moment and tee this up. We go.
I'll unmute to say, oh gosh, the scary moment of truth. What all is on Jason Brett's screen? Can't wait to find out. Jason, I think you muted yourself when you did that.
Did I?
Say something?
I think he's back.
Yeah, can
Yep,
you
you're
can you
back.
hear me now?
Yeah.
There we
Yep.
go. Very good. Excellent. Thanks. Thanks for the
You
heads
failed
up
that
there.
test, though. You did not just say something.
No,
Making a
I did
note.
not. That's fair. All right. I got a little comments there. Okay, fantastic. So as I was saying, there's a lot of hype around AI right now, but the thing to keep in mind, and I think most of us already know this, is AI is not a new conversation. As a matter of fact, and especially ChatGPT, which has become really interesting because it has specifically gotten uh, a lot of attention for being a really user accessible chatbot that's using natural language processing against these large language models to have some really rich, deep, informative, educated conversations. But the concept of even AI powered chatbots isn't new. As a matter of fact, it goes way back to 1964. 1964 was kind of the first real AI powered chatbot, and it was called Eliza. Who remembers that? Whoever experienced Eliza? Yeah, I got a few people. I remember I used to run a version of it, I think, on my Atari 400 at one point. If anybody remembers those, that's how old I am. So, but what Eliza was an attempt at being like a chatbot counselor. And so you would have a conversation, and Eliza would ask you questions and prompt you and dig deeper into the conversation and try to have a connected conversation with you about whatever was on your mind. And there's a really early example on the screen right now where she would give you a little bit of advice as well. And it was just a really neat application, but it was kind of the foundation. It's kind of generally recognized as the very first AI-powered chatbot. But since then, there have been a lot of other capabilities that have risen. We've had IBM Watson, we've had DeepMind, we've had a lot of other capabilities and tools. Einstein over at Salesforce, and then most recently, of real great interest is, of course, ChatGPT, and that's created a whole lot of discussion about, wow, have we really kind of gotten to the point where we have to start actively worrying about how AI is going to impact our jobs, impact the work that we can do? And it's starting to get real. There's some real good examples of what you can do that fundamentally can change not the nature of the work that we do, but how we go about doing it. And as a matter of fact, some things, some basic product management tasks can already be simplified and streamlined to the point that people are starting to ask, are product managers just an expensive luxury? Is there a different way to think about how we identify opportunities in the marketplace and how we bring them into a plan and get them developed? Even before ChatGPT and some of these generative AI capabilities came about, there were already a notable number of companies that were saying, you know what, we don't even have product managers. What we do is we run a customer ideas forum of some sort, and we let our customers vote on what the most important things for them are, and we just go implement what our customers ask us to. I'm not familiar with any of those companies that are still in business right now. That doesn't work really well. So that's why I think the sound and fury about AI replacing product management is not really a major concern. This is Jason's opinion. But when we look at what these large language models are doing right now, they've got a lot. Their fundamental job is to have a conversation, is to communicate. It's not necessarily to be all knowing and all feeling and all seeing. And the reality is, the way these large language models work is they look at a vast corpus of data and essentially try to construct meaningful thoughts, meaningful conversations from that data. But when you look at a very large data set, what you end up finding is the most common concepts that get applied in a chain. And feel free to jump in if you've got a different perspective as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But because you're looking at the most common thinking when you're having these types of conversations, is everybody really disturbed by the picture on the screen yet? Are we need to move it on? Okay, well, we'll move on from the guys here pretty quickly. But you end up with some of the kind of the most common concepts emerging and chaining together, at least at this stage of development. So you're not getting new thinking, you're getting a new perspective or a broad perspective on information and ideas, but it still takes imagination and creativity to apply those concepts and start making value out of them. So here's we're off things now. But this is a really great concept to think about, and found this quote actually in my own ChatGPT client today. I just asked the question, hey, how is generative AI going to impact product management careers? And ChatGPT tells us that it's going to, by leveraging the power to uncover hidden trends, make data-driven decisions, and rapidly innovate, you can elevate your strategic thinking and decision-making skills. And while I think that's the robot telling us we're all going to be okay, the reality is, I think it's a very accurate statement. We have a lot of tools that are now reaching critical mass and evolving very quickly so that we can discover information, we can discover trends using technologies that are more accessible to non-technical users. In the past, most of these AI technologies and machine learning technologies have required a pretty strong data science skill set and engineering skill set to even start to use them in a meaningful way. So bringing some tools to the forefront, ChatGPT is one of the great examples of a highly accessible, highly functional chatbot that can access a large store of data and help you interact with it in very natural language. And as that capability expands, it's going to help you get answers to questions faster, discover trends much faster, and be productive more quickly, more faster. So let's talk a little bit about some of the areas that this gets really interesting and starts to have an impact. If we look across the product lifecycle, I've broken this up into kind of 4 different categories, and there are lots of different frameworks to talk about how to think about the product management role and the function of product management. But for today's discussion, I just broke this into 4 core categories. And the first being market research. And when it comes to market research, there are lots of ways you can approach market research. A lot of you are here today, I think, because you participated you found out about us through a survey that we sent out to ask what you might be interested in from a product management perspective in AI. Well, that survey was actually generated by an AI assistant. I used ChatGPT to say, here are the outcomes that I want. What are some questions that will help me identify the outcomes to that? And I tweaked it a little bit and built a survey and sent that out. I've also since used some machine learning and some data science and some AI tools to help analyze the results of that. So far, we've got 148 responses on that survey, and it's still running. And while we got kind of a general vote for the types of topics that people were interested in, what was really more interesting about that survey was the verbatims. One of the things that we asked was, okay, besides the 2 areas that we asked specifically, what are some of the things that you're interested in learning about? And if you can start imagining going through 150 verbatim responses, I hear that the sound is breaking up occasionally, so hopefully we can keep it going a little bit more clearly, and I'll lean a little bit closer to the microphone as well and hope that helps. But as we looked at those 150-ish responses, I used a tool called Deep Talk to analyze the content of that specific of those survey results and make meaning out of them that did some categorization. And I'll share that with you here in just a moment as well. But this is one of the areas that I think AI across the product lifecycle can really start to have some impact. So what I'd like to do now is get into our real coffee talk mentality and step back from me just speaking to everyone. And I'd love to hear some examples of folks who are using AI for market research and some of the things that you're doing right now, or some of the examples that you've seen that you thought were particularly compelling. I saw some conversations going on here in the chat a minute ago, so I'd love some folks to just kind of jump in.
I haven't used anything, Jason, for research per se. I think there's still a gap. I think is in 2021 where they're still processing data. So there's a lot of things that ChatGPT is just making up because it doesn't have an answer for that and uses its like heuristics and its algorithm to make stuff up. Like it sounds convincing, but once you do a little more digging into it, then you realize, okay, it's just plain false, right? It doesn't make sense. So that's so when you said like, yeah, it's going to change when ChatGPT advertises itself to you as a great ad for market research, I put a comment. Well, once it stops making stuff up, yeah, it would be very useful. But I still haven't got anything. It's almost like I don't know. I would like to hear from someone who's using that. I personally haven't used this yet because I don't know if I can really trust the results. Right? I still have the old-fashioned market research, right? That is more laborious, it's boring, but at least it's something that is a little more reliable, right? Because you can double check your sources.
Well,
so I don't know if anyone else is doing that.
Jason, this is Steve. It's one thing when you're talking about what the data sources are and you know what they are. For example, we've built basically a discoverable supply chain or discoverative supply chain tool where we know the data that's gone in there have been actual information we've collected from our customers and their ships and their movement and their fuel buys and all of that. I was playing with ChatGPT this morning and I knew the answers to what I was asking, and what it came up with were completely wrong. They had an angle to them that was, if I were arguing with someone who was, on the other side of my argument, that's what they would present to me. And I thought that's patently wrong. It's absolutely presenting falsehood. So So I think in that case, it's got its own data lake, it's got its own data sources, and so I'm a little bit concerned about using market research where the backside is something I don't know about. If it were my own, if I understood the sources, then I might feel more comfortable with asking the questions or posing queries.
Yeah, to that point, one of the ways we've been using it, and we record gong calls for all of our sales calls. So I've noticed, just going very deep on ChatGPT, is the way you query it, the way you prompt it, makes it access different corpuses of knowledge and return that knowledge in different ways. So the prompt engineering is really important to get a good result out. But if I feed it the transcripts from our gong calls, that's a really useful way to distill a lot of ideas or client sentiment into something that's consumable, because I'm not going to listen to 30 or 40 hours of client calls.
Yeah, I think that's a great point out, and it gets to the core of what Steve is talking about there is he doesn't, when you don't know what the source of the data is, you don't know how reliable that data is, that source is to begin with. But when you when you can turn these technologies against a source that you control and you've already pre-processed and pruned so that you know I've got data that I'm interested in, then it starts to change the way you can interact with that tool, because it's no longer trying to answer a very broad question. It's answering a much narrower or a question from a much narrower set of data.
Well, it's worth asking it too, if you're going to ask it for market information, to quote its sources, because it will do that.
Yeah. And although I've personally seen it, and I know that with good prompt engineering, you can really control. You can get a lot better granular control on what you're able to get out of it. And I've also seen it quote sources that didn't exist. So you have to verify everything. I've personally used it in market research to understand a market that I didn't know very well and create a framework for me to go do further discovery outside of the tool. It just kind of gives me a kickstart or a boost in the work that I need to do as well. And that's with ChatGPT. Tiago, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was I well, Misha brought up like an excellent point about a very valid use case, like transcribing calls, right? And that's when you go to the actual power of AI to really work like to your goal, towards your goals, right? Because it's not making stuff up. It's really like transcribing like 30, 40 hours of calls and formulating things based on what it actually consumes. So it's the model has been trained with those calls to formulate something, right? It's not just you asking like out in the wild. And I think that this is a very useful scenario. When I said I didn't trust much ChatGPT was just to go with those prompts, right? Random prompts. Well, first, because I don't know if I am good at creating some nice prompts to ChatGPT, but really, it's really like about the source. So to Misha's point, like he gets analysis on client calls while they're actual clients talking to the actual service reps, and those calls are getting analyzed by an algorithm, and then is pitting back results with some insights. That's I'm totally for it, and I think that's a great use case that we should, that would definitely add a lot of value when we're running some discovery, right? And we want to look inside the organization how things are happening.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Allison.
What tools are people using for transcribing calls or research? I've used ChatGPT and it butchers it pretty bad.
I personally use Otter to actually do my transcriptions, otter.ai. It does a fairly nice job. I use that to do my transcriptions, and then you can hypothetically feed that into your own corpus and turn not just ChatGPT but GPT against it. OpenAI's got an API that you can leverage. I don't know. Are there other tools that people are using? I also noticed that Otter recently just rolled out a new feature that actually summarizes transcripts for you. It gives you kind of key moments within the transcript, which were kind of interesting. Misha's talking about OpenAI has the API called Whisper, and is that the one that you said you tried and didn't get great results with? Eric, back on mute.
Sorry, it was ChatGPT.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you, though. So Whisper.
Yep.
And Otter.
Yep. What other tools have folks used? Other tools for transcribing those calls? Nothing else thrown out here?
There's a lot of them out there nowadays. I think they're like Microsoft has theirs, Google has theirs. Like it's sort of like, I mean, there's Zoom or has its own, but there's also like plugins on those. I don't know if anyone's done a good comparison recently because there's such evolution. It might be interesting if someone has come across a good article around comparison of how good they are. Especially like I know when it gets to non-English, it gets harder, or people with like even English, but like different accents. We use Gong for our transcriptions, and that works really well. Gong as things go. So
very good. Cool.
I struggle with Google's Bard. It's so the amount of text you can put in from a transcript is so limited. You can only do like a paragraph or two.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of them are fairly limited right now. I saw that OpenAI is on their API. They've got a couple of different tiers that will accept more data, but I have not. That's also everything with OpenAI is on a waiting list. So it's when you get it, you get it, and the prices go up pretty considerably when you get to the larger data capabilities as well. So I want to switch back in and just to kind of keep us moving forward, because what I want to do in a moment is I want to get to a group exercise where we can kind of break out and go into a little bit more depth and then come back together. So the other three areas that I really started looking at was the product development process. And you can just do a quick search and you'll find a dozen examples out there of product managers demonstrating writing user stories or acceptance criteria with with ChatGPT specifically, but there are a lot of other tools as well going in that product development process, especially when you start looking into mining data that you're bringing back in from an application. Pendo has implementing a product like Pendo on your platform. They rolled out almost a year ago some machine learning capabilities to look at the user interactions that you're getting and start making meaning out of them and reporting back recommendations to improve your product-led growth prospects using their platform. And that feeds right into your product development process.
Jason, do you think you're sharing your screen?
I do think I'm sharing my screen. Am I not?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The way you were talking, I'm like, he's showing something.
Yeah, there you go. That's better. How's that?
Much better. We don't have to try to see the word pictures in your head.
Thank you.
Well, I
Which
mean,
to Jerry's point is
pictures.
usually the struggle. Jason's always talking to something. You may not be able to see it.
And then the third area is really, we've developed a product and now we move to the launch and go to market side of the product management life cycle. We're identifying, we're creating messaging, and of course that's one of the big areas that ChatGPT and tools like have been using Writer for several years and Copy.ai for a while that are really powerful to help break writer's block and feed in some general some high level ideas and get a draft of some content that you can use if you're creating short or long form copy. How many of you have spent just a significant amount of time staring at a blank screen trying to figure out where to start writing? Is that a problem that people run into from time to time? Yeah, I see some thumbs there, right? And
I love that time.
It's good quiet time, isn't it?
Well, it's like you're brewing on it. It's like the thoughts forming in your head, and I don't know. There's like,
yep, absolutely.
But it is good to have a brainstorming partner.
There are, and I think there are a lot of other launch and go to market process, activities that we do that we can explore some of the tools that are available to help accelerate our effectiveness as product managers in that space. And finally, post-launch improvements. We talked about things like Pendo just a moment ago, but understanding how users and customers are interacting with our products and getting a conversational AI to help us interpret the results that we're seeing and communicate with customers post-launch. There's a lot of tools out there that we'll dig into in a moment as well. We've talked about a couple of the challenges that come up as well, though. And there are some real challenges with what's out there on the landscape today. And one, we talked about hallucination and bias and the reliability of some of these mass market tools. And because, it's again, when you're dealing with mass market tools, you're dealing with the information from the masses and the interpretation of the masses. So if you go to ask a question, you're going to find language built around the most common concepts. And let's face it, the most common concepts aren't always the most advanced or thoughtful ideas and approaches. And the reliability of the data. There's a significant concern for a product for us to consider in our process around privacy and security. Specifically, especially with something like ChatGPT, anything you feed to it is being used by OpenAI to advance their technology. So it is not remaining your data. Now they're doing their best to protect it, but they're using that data and becoming aware of it. Go ahead, Jerry.
No, I was gonna say I work with a client now who's using AI to analyze medical documents and medical articles, and one of the struggles they have is identifying when new concepts come out and new diseases and stuff. If you think back to late 2019, early 2020, when the COVID was ramping up, they like had to put people back onto things because the term COVID or COVID-19 had not been in the literature, and all of a sudden it was coming up, and AI just did not pick that up.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because of the training. Yeah.
Yep. Any other concepts to bring forward on that? So I'm really anxious to get here in just a minute, get into a group exercise. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But some of the other challenges are these technologies can be resource intense still. Fortunately, there are an increasing number of SaaS-based products coming available that helps to offset that, but certainly implementing more private data stores and building models and executing models against your own data on more secure private hardware can be pretty resource intensive. And then just integrating these concepts into your existing process poses a fundamental challenge. But I think the biggest challenge that we're going to see as product managers still over the next several years is really about managing stakeholder expectations. And because we're hearing a lot about these technologies and the hype around them, as are our leaders and as are our customers and our internal peers. And I can't tell you how many times I'm seeing questions about from less experienced product teams, from less mature product teams about, hey, we've got this great new technology. How can we put it to use right now? And when can we have it done? And how's it? Bill Gates had a great blog post not too long ago talking about how transformative this technology is. But there's still a long way to go for that technology to actually transform so many areas of our business. Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, just another example of AI limitations, and it has to do with edge computing. Specifically, example that come to me was a paramedic out in the field, and all he has with him or she has with him is a device that may or may not be connected to the internet. If they're out in a remote location, they may not have access to it. So not having the AI engine to be able to do whatever the AI capabilities are relying on, they're just disconnected from it. That's a challenge as well that I ran into.
Absolutely. Steve, go ahead.
You mentioned, Jason, that people are looking for a way to implement it. But I think it gets back to just going back and saying, well, what problems do we have that we're not 100%. Solving, that we're not solving fast enough, or that we'd like to solve in a better way, and then go back and look at it. And I think just trying to get, I've seen that in the course of my career where we see something new and we go, ooh, let's put it in. It's like, no, let's go look back at our backlog of problems and see how could we get them done quicker. Or we realize there are problems that we had that we thought were unsolvable that now are.
Yep, and that's really what it comes to ultimately is understanding the nature of the opportunities that you have, learning new technologies that are coming available, and asking, can this help me solve for an opportunity that I'm already focused on, that I'm already aware of. And I think that's where you find the easy wins and help to avoid some of the hype. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I completely agree with you on that piece where, like, if it's not solving a problem, then is it really worth implementing? But I saw an interesting thing on LinkedIn today where they were saying that customers are expecting, or let's say that AI is driving sales, like it is driving interest, and people, just for the fact that the product has an AI plugin or component, that in and of itself is interesting to the market right now. Sure, maybe it doesn't truly solve the problem, but I think there's been a shift or a move where customers want this because they think that it's going to help to improve their experience.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I'm dropping. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just saw that it's like shiny object syndrome. Like, I think sometimes
it really
is the case where it is shiny object, but I think there are other times where, yeah, if it's leveraged correctly, then it can truly add, significant value.
Yep. Completely. So I've just pasted a Miro link into the chat here. And I'd like to invite everybody to jump over here. And what we're going to do here in a moment is we're going to get into a group exercise. But what I'd like to do first is I've got a little poll that I want to launch here. I'd like everybody to take just a quick moment about to look at this poll and asking just two questions. One is, other than ChatGPT, what AI-based tools have you experimented with in your role as a product manager? And just, a list of some of the tools that you've experimented with that come to the top of mind. And if none is the answer, none is okay. And then the other thing is, tell me what areas you're most interested in using AI for your choice, for your own product management career. Let's take a few seconds and let as many of you answer that as we can. And then we're going to break off into a little exercise here to go deep into some of the tools that are available and some of the questions that we'd like to answer that we think are practical questions to answer in with the current state of technology. All right, we got about 79% of you have given that poll. I'm going to give it just a couple seconds more, maybe 15 seconds more, and then we'll close the poll and move into some breakout groups. Market research, just for everybody's information, market research seems to be leading. We got 29. Who's still working on it that wants to hang out for a minute more? Who wants a minute more? Anybody want to just speak up if you'd like a little bit more time? All right, well, we're going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'll share the results with everyone. Got most of you responded here. There we go. And we'll go into the detail. We're not going to go into the details of the tools that people have used right now, but we'll look and see that, almost half of you are most interested in the market research side of things. A few of you are interested in launch and go-to-market and post-launch improvement. And the last group, and then the second most popular was the product development process. So what I want to do is I'm going to create some breakout rooms based on the responses to these topics. And as I create those, I'm going to allow you to move around to different rooms as you'd like to, but I'm going to start you out.
I don't know, Catherine, have you ever worked with it in production or like used it on a live website? Do they give you a dashboard like this? So what was the name of this JavaScript framework again? What was it called?
It's called Medusa.js.
I think you're on a different. I think you're on a different conversation. I'm going to mute you on Rachel's line. Yeah, no, that's definitely someone that's a friend. I think they might have just been in a different conversation. So let's see here, and we're going. But anyway, I'm setting this up so that you'll be able to come back to the main session. I can put you in a different room if you'd like to move to a different room, or you can go discuss a different topic along the way as well. But we're going to. I'm gonna open up the chat rooms right now, or the breakout rooms, and send everybody off into different rooms. And just go to the section on this Miro board that I've shared with you. And I'd like you to just talk about what are some of the areas of each of these kind of core product management functions that are some opportunities that we'd like to discuss, some tools that might help us with with our product management job? And then what are some tools that we're aware of or would like to find to specifically help with those problems? And then we'll come back in a few minutes and do a little bit of playback for the larger group. So while you're working, elect or nominate or draft someone to kind of speak for the group when you come back into the larger room in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to send us off into breakout rooms now. You should be able to accept an invitation there.
I'm not seeing it, Jason. Is there?
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Yeah, I'm not seeing I was kind of trying
You're
to get
right.
ready
It looks
for work,
like.
so I wasn't so worried.
Yep. All right. Well, let's see here. Let's just kind of start splitting you up.
Jason, I'm going to have to jump in 5 minutes. So if I'm on the not in our room list, there's no need to put me in. I've got something
No worries.
to take right at the hour.
Yep. Gotcha.
But this has been great. I appreciate it.
You bet. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we've got our breakout rooms open. We've had a few people had to jump, but we'll kind of continue with this discussion in a few minutes. If you're watching us on YouTube, good time to get a cup of coffee, and we'll be back here in the larger room in about 7 minutes. And I'm going to jump around from room to room and see what folks have to say.
We can't hear you, Jason.
There you go. There you go. That's better. Excellent. And hopefully my sound is breaking up now. Let me know if it sounds better. No,
I'm
still bad.
All right.
No, it was cutting out.
I wonder what's going on. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see if I can get it fixed for next time. So for these last couple of minutes, I'd love for the folks who are in room 1 who were talking about the market research using AI in market research. What are some of the things that you talked about, some of the tools that you talked about using? Do you elect a 4-person?
I think I'm the elected person, but I'm not really sure that we got the assignment right there, guys, because we didn't really spend a lot of time talking about the tools, just really the concepts of what are the key things, right, about how to do that. Do we trust it? How do we vet it, validate it? How do we really use it effectively? So I think we kind of chat about that than specific constructs or types of the tools.
That's great. So is there something on the validation side that you kind of came away with some insights on that you can share?
I'm just really looking at the sources, seeing if you can get it to tell you the sources and then vetting those sources, just like you would yourself. We were saying kind of like you said, using it as a research assistant, right? And it's going to speed us up maybe weeks even by going to consolidate all that data that we would have had to go find. But then just like we would, if we went and did a bunch of internet research, right? We got to look at the source. Was this, and I joked on there about, is it the Mayo Clinic or was it like, WebMD? Like, I think everyone has cancer, right? You've got to go vet the source of the thing versus just, going, hey, I have a bunch of data and let me just go right into using it, right?
Yep. That makes sense. So cool. Thank you. And I know there was a pretty active conversation going on the product development process side. I know Dave was talking a lot and had to jump, but who else was in the product development room? Steve, what you guys, what insights did you walk away from there with?
I think it's similar to what we spoke about earlier, that, we're a pragmatic bunch, and that really we got to find out what problems we're solving. And that I think it was Robert had some key insights into, what he thought was like, but most of us are really there to do it, to solve some key problem. And I think we talked about the fact that, I had mentioned that I think a lot of the AI that I'm implementing in product development is really, sometimes it's non-conversational, or if it is conversational, the person that's being conversed with doesn't really know that they're having a conversation with an engine and a vast array of data.
And my comment on the product development process was using AI on things like backlogs and on use cases to identify the actual critical things, right? So, there may be one particular feature you could do that would take off 10 or 9, 8 items because the backlog's so big, so complex. You may be able to go in there and look for patterns and things like that, say, let's address these things. As long as they're obviously within the overall, goals of the release or the sprint, but it may help us identify patterns that we can fix and address quicker and get us more productive.
Very good. Well, excellent. So that brings us to the top of the hour. So I want to thank everybody who joined us today. It was a lot of fun. I hope you met some new product management colleagues and got some interesting stimulation in your thinking. And we will be back next week with our discussion on making sure that your roadmaps are realistic and are kind of grounded in reality. So looking forward to seeing everybody back next week. And until then, have a great week and enjoy your coffee. Bye-bye.
Thank you.